Hello, dear students and listeners. A video lecture on the topic Data Collection in Experimental Type Research is presented for your attention. When collecting information, it is necessary to adhere to certain principles. First, information must be collected in sufficient volume and relevant to the question and request. Second, the choice of information collection strategies should be purposeful. Third, the use of one or more strategies should increase the validity of study. We will talk about validity and reliability of the study later. Data collection is a process of data gathering and measuring targets, which then allow you to answer relevant questions and evaluate results. Data collection is part of research in all areas of study. Also, data collection methods vary across disciplines. The goal of data collection is always to obtain accurate and truthful data that will help answer the questions posed. There are various methods for collecting information: watching and listening, getting answers to questions, and obtaining, examining the materials. Next, we will analyze each method of collecting information. Watching and listening. The method of observation and listening includes looking, watching, listening, reading, and recording. For example, in the study of intelligence level evaluation, participants were given various tasks and situations, and the researchers watched their progress of solving problems and evaluated the results in special checklist. The method of obtaining answers to questions is carried out by interviewing and questioning. Interviewing types. Respondents can be interviewed through a personal conversation, telephone conversation, and virtual conversation. Interviewing can be structured with clearly defined questions and answers to them. They used close-ended questions, and unstructured, without a clear plan of questions and answers. They used open-ended questions, as well as individual and group interviews. Questionnaires are also might be structured and unstructured. Each questionnaire has strengths and limitations. Strengths of structured questionnaires are: they answer to all questions, allow to cover a large number of respondents, it is possible to compare answers and apply statistical analysis. Limitations of structural questionnaires are: there may be misunderstanding about the text of question, the probability of missing of information, and the questions which are approved by society. Unstructured questionnaires have the following strengths: responses are specific, the presence of non-verbal information, you can clarify the relationship to the question themselves. And limitation of unstructured questionnaires are: the lack of direct responses, take a long time, and there is no way to compare responses. Obtaining and examining the materials include objects, information, images, phenomena, data. Unobtrusive methodology, non-contact, involves observation and examinations of documents, objects, and environments relevant to the phenomena of interest. Secondary data analysis. The researcher reanalyzes one or more existing data sets. Geographical data, presented from static images to spatial analysis of factors and identification of their impact. Information in virtual environment, virtual information data that can also be studied to identify factors affecting the health of the population. Artifacts review comprises a set of techniques primarily used to ascertain the meaning of objects in the research context. For example, archaeologists examine ruins to learn about ancient cultures. When researchers have collected data, they need to somehow systematize to further processing and analyzing. The collected data is variables. Variables are quantities that can change from individual to individual. Classification of variables. You can see at this slide, variables are classified into quantitative and qualitative, or categorical. Quantitative variables are subdivided into discrete and continuous. qualitative variables are subdivided into ordinal and nominal. Variables and their examples will be discussed in more detail in subsequent lessons. Some principles apply to determine the measurement level of variable. Each variable must have two properties. First, the variable must fully reflect each possible observation. The variable must attribute each observation to one or more features or attributes. And second one, attributes or categories must be mutually exclusive. Now let's talk about measurement scales or quaternary scales. A measurement scale is a measurement tool in which the properties of social phenomena are expressed by numbers arranged in a certain order. The slide shows an example of G87 anxiety questionnaire with scores interpreted. There are three main formats of measuring scales: Likert type scale, Gatman scale, semantic differential scale. In the book you will find detailed information on each scale format, as well as a list of useful questionnaires with ready-made scales. Now let's talk about confidence in the means of measurements. In the beginning of the lecture we talked about the principles of collecting data. And in order for our measuring instruments to give accurate and truthful information, they must be reliable and valid. Reliability is a characteristic that reflects the stability of results obtained using this tool. In other words, it is an indicator of ability of the tool to show the same results when tested repeatedly under similar conditions. You want to be sure that repeated measurements of the same variable on the same person in the same situation will produce the same results. The elements of test reliability are defined by concepts such as stability, internal consistency, and equivalence. Stability implies the consistency of repeated measurements, so-called test-retest. Internal consistency or homogeneity, the study of the consistency of the test from the inside. And equivalence is the degree to which test results agree with the validity of values obtained from measurements of the same population. Validity is how much a tool evaluates that it should. In contrast to reliability, validity is tested in several stages over a long period of time and is carried out among many groups. There are three main types. Content or facial validity assesses how much the indicator reflects the main content of the phenomenon being studied. Criterion validity reflects the correlation of measurement with another instrument or standard. And concurrent validity is a complex form of validation used to test the validity of a given tool to measure the theoretical model it has created. Now the lecture is over. Thank you for your attention.